We're going to be looking at algebraic fractions today and how to simplify them. So let's first consider a standard fraction and how we go about simplifying this. So let's simplify 21 over 24. I'm sure you could go straight ahead to simplify this, but let's break it down and really understand what is happening when we are simplifying it. So for 21 and 24, we're thinking about a number that will divide evenly into both 21 and 24. And I'm sure you know it already, and it's 3. So let's break this fraction down. We can rewrite 21 as 3 times 7, and we can rewrite 24 as 3 times 8. So because we have a common factor of 3, that means we can go ahead and cancel that out. So if we were to divide the top by 3, we would cancel that 3 out with 3 on the bottom. So that means we will be left with just the 7 on the top and the 8 on the bottom, which means this fraction can be simplified down to just 7 over 8. So we are dividing top and bottom by 3 to get 7 over 8. Let's now apply this method of cancelling common factors on the top and on the bottom of a fraction with algebraic fractions. So let's first start with our first example. So let's simplify a to the power of 7 over a squared. So like that previous numerical example, we are going to break down this fraction, or expand should I say, what each of these terms mean. So a to the power of 7, that means a times by itself 7 times. So if I write that out 7 times, just about fit that in. So I've got a 7 times, and then a squared is a times a. So I've expanded what each of these terms mean. So again, like the previous first example, what we're going to do is we're going to cancel our common factors of what we have on the top of our fraction with what we have on the bottom. So I'm going to cancel an a on the top with an a on the bottom, and then I'm going to cancel another a on the top with another a on the bottom, which means I'm just left with 5 a's all times together on the top of our fraction, which means our answer is a. So a times a 5 times, which is a to the power of 5. And because we've got nothing left on the bottom of our fraction, we just have this term as our final answer. Okay, let's try this process again with our example 2. So this time we've got d squared over d to the power of 5. We're going to expand what each of these terms mean. So d squared is just d times d. And then d to the power of 5 is d times itself 5 times. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and cancel any common factors that we have on the top with what we have on the bottom. So I'm going to cancel the d on the top with the d on the bottom. I then have another d on the top, which I'm going to cancel with a d on the bottom. And that means on the bottom we have d times d times d left over, which means our final answer. So on the bottom of the fraction we've got d times d times d, which is d to the power of 3. And because we've cancelled everything on the top, if you don't have anything left on the top of your fraction, it's just over 1. It's just 1 on the top, sorry. So our answer is 1 over d to the power of 3, or d cubed. So what we're doing, we are expanding any terms on the top of our fraction and on the bottom. So here we expanded a to the power of 7, so a times itself 7 times, and then we're cancelling any factors on the top if they're the same on the bottom. And the same here, we've expanded d squared, so it's d times d, and then d to the power of 5 is d times by itself 5 times, and if we've got something that's on the same top and bottom, we can cancel them out, and we're left with d times d times d, which gives us d cubed. And if we cancel everything on the top, we just put a 1 in its place. Let's look at some more examples. Okay, so this third example, let's simplify 15c squared over 20c. So we're going to essentially combine the very first example we looked at with the previous slide. So we're going to first consider numbers 5 and 20 and break that down. So we can break it down into 5 times 3, and then we're going to times it by c squared, which is c times c. We're then going to expand 20c, which we can break down to 5 times 4 times c. So we've expanded these terms, and we do have some common factors that we can go ahead and cancel out. So I have a 5 on the top, which I'm going to cancel with the 5 on the bottom, and then have a c on the top, which I can cancel with a c on the bottom, which means on the top we will be left with 3c, and on the bottom we just have 4. So that means our final answer will be 3c over 4. Okay, so using this example, can you please try this question by expanding it to look like this first step and cancel out your common factors and fully simplify 12y squared over 8y. Okay, let's go over the answer. Hopefully you've unpaused now and managed to give that a go. We're going to expand 12y squared to start with to get 4 times 3 times y, because we have y squared on the top. And we're going to put that over and then expand 8y. So we're expanding 8 to 4 times 2. And we've only got one y on the bottom. Now we can go ahead and cancel our common factors. So we've got a 4 on the top, and we do have another 4 on the bottom, and we've got a y on the top and a y on the bottom, which means we will now be left with 3y on the top and a 2 on the bottom. So our final answer, you should have 3y over 2. So well done if you've got that. Okay, let's look at another example. So this time we have 12c squared d over 15cd. So another step further, we have an extra letter term here. So let's go ahead and simplify this. So 12 and 15, we have a highest common factor of 3. So I'm going to start with 3 times 4 to give us 12, times c to give us c squared, times d. And that's all over 3 times 5 times c times d. And now we can go ahead and cancel any common factors on the top and bottom. So we've got 3 top and bottom, then we've got a c, and we also have a d. Now we can go ahead and finalise our answer. So on the top we're left with 4c, and we have 5 left on the bottom, which means our final answer is 4c over 5. Okay, again using this example to help you, if you pause the video here and simplify 16a squared b over 20ab. Okay, hopefully you have unpaused, and let's go over the answer. So 16 and 20, highest common factor is 4. So I'm going to start 4 times 4 to give us 16, times a to give us a squared, times b, and then 4 times 5 to give us 20, times a times b. Now we've expanded that, we can go ahead and simplify any common factors. So we've got a 4 on the top and a 4 on the bottom, we've got an a on the top and an a on the bottom, and a b top and bottom as well. Now we will be left with 4a on the top and 5 on the bottom. So our answer you should have is 4a over 5. So really well done if you got that. Okay, next example. You will have seen an example like this previously. Let's just go through it again. So as long as you have, if you have any addition or subtracts, as long as they are in brackets, you can cancel entire brackets. So let's expand. What does x minus 1 squared actually means? Well, that means x minus 1 times x minus 1, timesing it by itself, all over x minus 1. We're not going to expand the brackets, we're just going to expand what does x minus 1 squared mean. Well, it means we're timesing x minus 1 by itself. So now we can go ahead and cancel out an entire bracket, because it's a factor, as long as it's been multiplied, x minus 1 on the top, cancelled with the entire bracket on the bottom, which means we will be left with just, oh, I thought that was a highlighter, x minus 1 on the top, there we go, and so our final answer is going to be just x minus 1. Because we've got rid of everything on our denominator, we're just going to be left with that term on the top. Essentially we have this, x minus 1 all over 1, but if you ever come across that answer, just get rid of that fraction on the bottom and just have it left as x minus 1. Okay, again, can you pause the video here and simplify this one? Okay, let's go over the answer. Hopefully you've unpaused. So top we've just got x plus 1. On the bottom we have x plus 1 squared, which means x plus 1 times by itself. And now we can cancel our x plus 1 bracket on the top with one of the brackets on the bottom. And we will be left with x plus 1 on the bottom of our fraction, which means we don't have anything left on the top. So if you've got rid of everything on the top of your fraction, we're just going to be left with 1 over x plus 1. And that is your final answer. So again, well done if you got that. So what I would like you to do now is to pause here and have a go at simplifying all 6 of these fractions. So if you pause now and fully simplify these fractions. Okay, hopefully you've unpaused. Now let's go over the answer. So the first one, our highest common factor between 24 and 30 is 6. So if we break that fraction down, again you might be able to do this a lot quicker, but I'm just showing you where these numbers come from. So 6 times 4 to give us 24, and 6 times 5. So we're going to go ahead and cancel our 6's. So essentially we are dividing top and bottom by 6. We're going to be left with 4 and 5, which means our final answer, we'll squeeze it in here, is 4 over 5. Next one, so we've got c to the power 5 over c cubed. So c times by itself 5 times, all over c times by itself 3 times. We can cancel top and bottom with, if we have a c on the top, we can cancel it with a c on the bottom. We've got another c, cancel again, and we've got another one, cancel again, which means we'll be left with just c times c on the top. So that means c times c, our final answer, is going to be c squared. And question C, 9 and 15, we've got a highest common factor of 3, so we get 3 times 3 to get 9, and we're timesing it by x. Then we have 3 times 5 to get 15, timesing it by x. Now we've expanded what those terms mean, we can go ahead and cancel any common factors on the top and the bottom. Once we've done that, that means we will have just our 3 and 5 left over. So that means your final answer should be 3 over 5. So well done if you got that. Okay, question D. 15 and 12, highest common factor of 3. So 3 times 5 to get 15 times x to give us x squared. And then 3 times 4 to give us 12 times x. Once we've expanded that, let's cancel any common factors. So we're going to cancel our 3's and one of our x's top and bottom. And that means we will have our 5x on the top and 4 on the bottom of our fraction. So our final answer is 5x over 4. And for E, 20 and 24, highest common factor of 4. So this means 4 times 5 to get 20, times p, times q to get q squared, all over 4 times 6 to get 24, times p times q. Once we've got that, we've expanded it, we can cancel any common factors. And then we will just be left with 5q over 6. Okay, and last one. What does this mean? We have d minus 2 on the top and d minus 2 on the bottom. Cancel top and bottom. So we'll be left with 1 over d minus 2. Okay. Really well done if you got most of them, if not all of them correct. Excellent work. The more practice you do with these questions, the quicker you will get at them, and you will eventually, the more practice you will eventually not find yourself needing to write down this step. This is just to really help you understand that we're cancelling a term on the top with a term on the bottom.